In this episode of the Butt Chronicles, we take a look at Beavis and Butt-Head, episode 54, The Trial.
Welcome to Industrial Industries World Radio's The Butt Chronicles.
You said welcome.
Oh God.
Well, hey, what's up, ladies, gentlemen, and butt munchers alike? Welcome to the Butt Chronicles, your audio guide to everything Beavis and Butt-Head, and I'm your host, DJ Glowing Ice. Hope everybody out there is doing well out in the podcast world, wherever you're listening to this, and there is some breaking news that this past week, it finally hit, and we know what the brand new Beavis and Butt-Head movie will be named. It's called, listen here, Beavis and Butt-Head Do the Universe. Now, I'm not going to tell you verbatim what I read, the synopsis of how this new Beavis and Butt-Head movie is going to be, but basically, it's going to be set in present time, but Beavis and Butt-Head are going to time warp from 1998 to now, and how they do that is they go up in space in some kind of space camp because that was their punishment or something, or how they're supposed to learn or whatever it is, and something happens, something goes awry, and they get spun into the future. Now, I don't know if these sketches that we have seen come out recently of Beavis and Butt-Head being old is going to be a part of this movie or the next couple seasons, season 9 and season 10. But my idea, this is just, me spitballing here, is Beavis and Butt-Head aren't going to stay the same teenagers when they get brought into the present day. Their bodies are gonna age while they're in space, and then they get sent back down. So that's what we are seeing with these drawings of Beavis and Butt-Head looking elderly or older. So that's just my prediction. I could be dead wrong. It could be anybody's guess at this moment, but that's me kind of trying to piece the puzzle together. But anyways, yeah, that's your Beavis and Butt-Head news. Very big, exciting stuff. Beavis and Butt-Head Do the Universe. It's going to be on Paramount Plus. I hope it is in theaters, because I'd rather go into the theater and see it, because I saw Beavis and Butt-Head Do America in theaters, and, I just want to carry on the tradition. But, yeah, July 2022, this year, July. So be ready for that. And, yeah. Anyways, we are getting into the episode now, and we are taking a look at Beavis and Butt-Head episode 54, The Trial. It first aired on MTV on November 4th, 1993. And that's it. That's all we need to know for now. So let's see what happens to Beavis and Butt-Head in The Trial. The episode starts with a shot of a TV hanging from the ceiling inside of a jail. A sign on the TV reads, "Do not touch dials." The program on the TV is a parody of the court TV show, The People's Court, but on here, it's The Pupils' Court. The host of the show is dressed in a suit and tie holding a microphone. He says, "Well, Judge Wapner just didn't buy the plaintiff's story." He then turns and asks a woman, "What did you think of the judge's decision?" "I thought it was fair. I thought it was a very fair decision." The woman then walks away. Another woman walks up. "And what did you think?" the host asks. The woman leans into the host's face and says, "Bite me." Yeah, we hear Beavis say off screen. The host on the TV then says, "Well, that does it for the case of the rear-ended motorist, and that will also conclude this session of the Pupils' Court, as we are simply out of time. This is Doug Loyalin reminding you that next time someone rear-ends you, don't just turn the other cheek, you take them to court, the Pupils' Court." Moving to a news shot, we now see Beavis and Butt-Head sitting in a jail cell with two other dudes. The boys are laughing as they watch TV. A guard enters the room with a clipboard and walks towards the jail cell. Reading from the clipboard, the guard reads, "Butt-Brain and Beatrice, your case is next. Whoever you are." Cut back to the boys as we hear the cop yell, "Oh, Beatrice!" That's us, dude," says Butt-Head. Beavis turns to Butt-Head and says,
Yeah, wait a minute. No, wait, my name's not...
Shut up, Beatrice, Butt-Head interrupts, making sure that Beavis doesn't give away their real names. The next scene is inside of a courtroom with an audience, a judge, and a jury. We see the courtroom from the audience point of view as Beavis and Butt-Head are at the table to the left as defendants, and Mr. Anderson is on the right as the plaintiff. The judge, a woman with red hair and glasses, says to Beavis and Butt-Head, "You two are charged with trespassing and vandalism. How do you plead?" Cut to the boys sitting at the table. "What?" asks Butt-Head. "Guilty or not guilty?" the judge replies.
Huh?
replies Beavis. The boys laugh as the judge points to Mr. Anderson and asks again, "Did you throw eggs at his windows?" Huh? The boys then look at Mr. Anderson. "Oh, you mean like, did we do it?" "Yes!" the judge yells in frustration, slamming her hand on her desk.
Hey, Butt-Head.
Beavis says, as he then whispers and discusses with Butt-Head. Among the whispering, Beavis says,
It wasn't my fault, it was your fault.
The boys stop discussing amongst each other, then Butt-Head turns to the judge. That was, other kids or something. Are you certain you don't want me to appoint an attorney, a lawyer, to take your case? The judge asks. I could handle it, dude. I've, seen the pupils' court. You'll need someone who knows the laws and who's familiar with the penal system and... The boys start laughing, interrupting the judge. She said penal. The next scene shows Mr. Anderson on the stand as his lawyer walks up and asks him a question. Just tell us what you saw in your own words, Mr. Anderson. Well, I came back to my house and saw them two delinquents throwing eggs at my windows. Mr. Anderson then points to Beavis and Butt-Head. The courtroom gasps, and Mr. Anderson's lawyer continues. Let the record show that the delinquents the witness just pointed to are none other than the two defendants in this case. I have no further questions. The lawyer walks up to Beavis and Butt-Head and says, Your witless? And then turns around to the judge and says, your witness?
Yeah.
Shut up, Beatrice. Mr. Anderson, still on the stand, asks the judge, Hey, why did he say Beatrice? Ain't that a boy? He fixes his glasses and squints. Seeing from Mr. Anderson's eyesight, we see Beavis very blurry. Anderson squints again and again, and then puts his glasses back on. Well, they all look the same to me. You know, back when I was in the service, there was a feller by the name of Bill Hermstead. He was a hell of a guy. But you know, Bill... Mr. Anderson talking fades away as Butt-Head gets a thought bubble. Inside the thought bubble is the host from the pupils' court holding a microphone. Use the force, Butt-Head, the host says. Butt-Head, shocked, turns to his thought bubble. What? Use the force. Butt-Head faces forward again. Mr. Anderson says, I said all you kids look the same. I don't see how your parents can keep track of you. You know, back when I was a kid, boys had their hair real short. Now, of course, that was a long time ago. That was back before microwave. As Mr. Anderson keeps rambling, the TV host in Butt-Head's thought bubble reappears and touches Butt-Head. We hear a zap sound, and then see a glowing charge around Butt-Head's entire body. A power comes over Butt-Head, and he quickly stands up under his power and starts drilling Mr. Anderson. So then, for all you know, it could have been him who threw rotten eggs at your window. Butt-Head points behind him to Stewart, who is watching in the crowd. Stewart looks scared as Mr. Anderson replies, Well, all you kids do look a lot alike. As Beavis sits and picks his nose, Butt-Head continues, If that's your opinion, sir, then your testimony as an eyewitness is hardly credible. Butt-Head then taps his finger on the table with every word he speaks. It's incompetent, irrelevant, and immaterial. We then hear the sound of a zap again, and the glow leaves Butt-Head, along with the power he just had. Or something. The courtroom is full of chatter as we see the jurors speaking amongst each other. Hey now, hold on. Wait a minute. Hey now, hold on a minute. Mr. Anderson points. I rest on your face. I rest my case, says Butt-Head. The courtroom fills with laughter as Mr. Anderson's lawyer is angry. The judge lifts up her hammer and says, Case dismissed. Just a minute, Your Honor, Anderson's lawyer yells. He turns to Butt-Head pointing. A moment ago, you just said the eggs were rotten. That's not mentioned anywhere here in the police report, and it didn't come up in this courtroom. Now, how could you have possibly known that unless you and your little cohort, Beatrice, were yourselves guilty of the crime?
Yeah.
Back to the judge, she turns to the jury and says, As you begin your deliberations, remember that our system of law, defendants must be found innocent unless the state proves them guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Now go convict these two hooligans. The judge points to Beavis and Butt-Head, who now look bummed. The jurors leave the courtroom to deliberate. The judge goes on. We'll recess now. I'll bring you all back here as soon as the jury reaches a the door opens back up, and the jury walks back into the courtroom. The judge asks, Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, have you reached a verdict? In unison, all 12 jurors point to the boys and say, Guilty. Good work, the judge says, who then turns to Beavis and Butt-Head and continues. I sentence each of you to 500 hours of community service, teaching other children who, unlike you, might still have a chance of leading useful, productive lives. 2 guards enter the courtroom and grab Beavis and Butt-Head and drag them out. Next scene, we see the front of Mr. Anderson's house. We see an egg fly and splatter against the front door. Repeat after me, or something. We then see Beavis and Butt-Head standing on the sidewalk by the road in front of the house. They're standing with 3 other boys. With cartons of eggs all around them, and Butt-Head holding a carton of eggs himself, he imitates his laugh for the kids to repeat. The kids start laughing like Butt-Head. Beavis says,
Yeah.
and then throws another egg at Mr. Anderson's front door. And that is Beavis and Butt-Head in the trial. Now let's check out the music videos. The first music video is Lil Devil by The Cult, and the boys like it, they say it rocks, and they also headbang to it. And Butt-Head says that he wants to get a truck that's raised 30 feet off the ground so he could crush things all around town. Beavis then mentions that this truck could also have a horn that plays Iron Man when you'd honk it. Beavis goes on saying that this horn would make all the chicks want to go out with them, and then Butt-Head says if it didn't work, they could run over their cars. Seeing the lead singer in the video, Butt-Head says, he's wearing leather pants so you could see his wiener. Next music video is Papa/Killer Was a Rolling Stone by George Michael, and Butt-Head asks if George Michael has his lip pierced. Beavis says that he's too much of a wuss to get his lip pierced. I might get my butt pierced.
Yeah, I had my butt pierced.
No, you didn't. Liar.
Yeah, lying is cool. Liar, 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 liar.
Butt-Head says cool when he sees a toilet in the video, and Butt-Head also drinks from a green cup and wipes his mouth off with his arm while watching the video. Seeing a guy rubbing his face, Beavis says,
Whoa, he's popping a zit.
And then Butt-Head burps. And the last music video is What I Am by Edie Brickell and New Bohemians, and we actually covered this music video. So this music video was from an earlier episode called Home Improvement, which was episode 14. So if you want to know about that music video, check out that episode. And that is the music videos. Now let's get into the fun facts. There's a few fun facts in this episode, nothing too major, but it's just kind of some things that you could keep an eye out for. The first thing is earlier on in the episode when the security guard walks into the jail cell where Beavis and Butt-Head are being held, the security guard looks crazily like Tom Anderson. And then also if you look out into the crowd, you'll see a man with a hat and suspenders and all that. He's sitting in the audience, but then all of a sudden that same character is also serving in the jury as well. So it's just little things. I guess assets were being reused when they could, different characters and so on. So nothing too major, like I said, but definitely something to keep an eye out for. The trial was officially released on the There Goes the Neighborhood home video, and it's the 23rd episode of Season 3 of Beavis and Butt-Head, and it's the 54th episode overall. And IMDb, the Internet Movie Database, gives Beavis and Butt-Head in The Trial a 7.3 out of 10 rating. And now I will give you my review. It's hard for me to remember this episode. If I did see it, I might have saw a glimpse of it because I do remember the People's Court parody at the very beginning, but I don't really remember anything else in this episode. There is quite a few different episodes where Beavis and Butt-Head are in court. I think the one I remember the most is the sexual harassment one. So that's what I thought this one was, and then I was like, oh no, that episode is titled Sexual Harassment. This one's The Trial. I'm like, what happens in this one? And it's like, oh, Beavis and Butt-Head are maybe finally paying for their crimes. All the stuff that they've done to Tom Anderson, it's all catching up to them. And yeah, so that's what this was. You know, it's kind of like a mid-range episode to me. It had some good spots here and there, but for the most part, this was kind of just like okay, you know, it's cool to see. It's a cool episode. It's not like Eating Contest where it was just atrocious, but it's not a golden episode by any stretch. It's just kind of there. The two music videos in this episode that were new are good, so this gets extra points for that. And just taking a look at this whole thing. So what's going on here? Beavis and Butt-Head, Tom Anderson is after them for throwing eggs at his door, his house, his windows, as he says. And Beavis and Butt-Head are just, they're heading up Schitt's Creek. They don't know what to do. They don't have a lawyer. They're representing themselves. They don't have anybody helping them on the defendant's side. And the only thing they know about court cases and all that is watching the People's Court on daytime television. And Butt-Head, he gets charged. So for a very, very small instance, Butt-Head gets a stroke of genius. He powers up and he starts making points that are very valid in court. But he slips up and mentions rotten eggs. This is a good lesson for people seriously to think about. Like, if you are in trouble and you're trying to get out of a court case, keep very, very fine details out of it. Be very broad when you're giving your testimony. And if you are on a good path of getting out of it, yeah, don't slip up and say rotten eggs when you've been throwing eggs at Tom Anderson's house and he's going after you. So that was the downfall of Beavis and Butt-Head losing the court case. At the very end, though, it does have a happy ending because nothing really changes. Beavis and Butt-Head use their punishment to their advantage by teaching all of these kids, these youngsters, how to, make Tom Anderson happy by throwing more eggs at his house. Very cool story, very well-rounded story, but just not that funny. There are some great parts in it, but overall, it's just kind of there. The penal system, when Butt-Head laughs, when the judge says that is good. But I feel like that parody of the People's Court at the very beginning, when the host was interviewing women coming on, I feel like they could have did more with that, made it more funny. But who knows? The lady saying "bite me" was sort of funny, but I feel like there could have been another woman that would have came on there and said something really crazy, some kind of funnier interaction, but that's what it is. So, overall, let's take a look. Beavis and Butt-Head in the trial. Great story, cool story. Some funny moments, not too over the top. Music videos were cool. He's wearing leather pants so people could see his wiener. That's a classic line, I do have to say. I'm going to give this episode a 5 out of 10. That sounds about right to me. It's right down the middle. Not too bad, but definitely not like a golden episode. Nothing that I would really want to go back and rewatch. So there you go. Beavis and Butt-Head, The Trial, gets a 5 out of 10.